What is up, everybody, and welcome to Grinderslive, the flagship show for NBA here on a Thursday evening. We're making history today, man. We're making history. We're bringing some people together here. We're bringing some people who haven't worked together before. We're going to get you guys a lot of money. So we appreciate you tuning in. Just sit back for the next 50 minutes or so. Fire off all your questions, and we're going to try to walk you through this slate in the NBA. So plenty of money to be made out there tonight. So as always, I've done one of these shows with Will plenty of times in the past. I'm going to bring in Will Priester, a.k.a. Chief Just Ice. Will the Thrill. They call him Will the Thrill. Will, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I got to let the people in, Chop, on a little behind the scenes action. I need some of this millionaire juice to rub off on me. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to get in the winner's circle with a little red velvet today. Red velvet and millionaire status. That's what we're going to do today. Glad to be on with you, though, man. Always a pleasure.
Red velvet, that might get you there, man. That's a good call right there. You got to do that. And the third part of our team here, guy, I haven't had the pleasure of working with yet, but we're gonna break the ice today. Is the name is Andre, aka Dre, aka Boogie Dre, aka Andre 6000. You know, whatever. Did I miss anything, Dre? What do they call you, man? What do you want me to refer to you as? You are a millionaire, right? So you tell me what you want me to call you.
Yeah, I'm a fellow millionaire like you. I'm trying to catch up though, but you call me Andre Dre. Andre 3 Stacks 2000 Jersey 26 on the DFS channels if you want to find me and play me almost head to heads. So, but yeah, just here to hopefully get some good plays and win some people a lot of money. If not, take some down myself.
Good deal, man. We're gonna knock this thing out for you guys. We got plenty of prep time here. We're keeping track of all the injuries too in our rear view mirror here, and we're gonna let you in on everything as it comes up. Listen, fire off those questions because at the end of the show, near the end of it, that's all we're going to do is answer questions. That's the best way to knock those things out while we wait for injuries. So get all your questions in chat. We'll keep track of them, and I'll get to them later. I promise you won't be denied. So, guys, before we get cranked up here, I want to point out to you the RG Premium is out there. We're going to drop a code right now for $10 off your first month of RG Premium. It's a you can combo this stuff up. As many sports as you want, whatever sports you like. You're not stuck paying for badminton if you don't watch badminton. So you just do the sports you want to do. So the combo deal, get on that $10 off your first month right there. RG Premium. Is not too late to get in on the golf if you're into the showdown stuff. We got the golf showdown. So I know a lot of you guys are sweating the Masters out there. We got our eye on that too as we get through this show. So injuries, guys. Injuries are what this time of year is made of in the NBA. I mean, it's bad. It's out there, man. This is what it is. So let's walk through a few injuries here as we get cranked up here. And we wait for our boy Keach to get in. Guys, if you have any questions for Steven, SBK, fire him off. I'll let him know when he gets here. But injuries, Cleveland's got a couple. Nance and Allen is out. We've seen that before. We know what's going to happen. Maybe Hardenstein's on our radar. Detroit's going to be missing Jeremy Grant tonight. Do with that what you please. They're in full tank mode, so I don't know what you go with that. LA Lakers, we know they're missing LeBron. We know they're missing Anthony Davis. Tonight, they'll be missing Talon Horton-Tucker, the very talented THT. So, Will, does Horton-Tucker, in addition to the other guys being out, does that do anything for you tonight?
Well, I think under a normal circumstance, it probably would have. But with Andre Drummond coming into the fold, I just don't see how it helps really anybody on the bench. I think, the rotation may be slightly, and by slightly different, I mean maybe Drummond kind of runs across with some of these other guys now versus THT kind of being the guy with Trez, and maybe that affects their usage. I know we don't really know for sure, but just in my estimation, if Drummond gets anywhere close to 30 minutes, I don't see how anybody else off the bench really gets there. Even Trez, I just don't see how they get there. So really, it's kind of starters or bust for me with the Lakers, especially in this matchup with the Heat. That's very unappealing. I think for their prices, especially on DK, Schroeder 7K, Kuzma 7-1, Trez 6-2. I just don't feel that they're going to be good value for us today.
Kuzma is ruled out for Thursday. So
right in the middle of it.
Well, you all right? Make an adjustment for me. That's got to open something up, right? I mean, there's value out there, but now there's real value here.
If that's the case, Markieff Morris is about to play 35 minutes. He's got to. Like he's about to play 35 minutes. He's 5K on DK. I think I rank him above pretty much probably almost all of the OKC value at this point on DK, because on DK these guys are 5'6", 5'2", 5'8". I think he's going to come in. His ownership is about to go through the roof now. Also with Kuzma being out, man, now with Kuzma and THT, how many extra minutes does Alex Caruso pick up? He's been
not enough. Not enough.
He's been playing about 21, 22 minutes. You got to think he picks up another 5 unless they're going to run Ben McLemore out there. And I just don't see it. They don't have enough. Like Kostas isn't going to play much. Alfonso McKinney isn't going to play much. Wesley Matthews is probably going to pick up a few more minutes, but he doesn't really move the needle. The Lakers might get smashed here. That's probably what's going to happen, to be honest with you. Markieff Morris picks up minutes, but I don't see how the Lakers can keep up with pretty much a full Heat team. I'm out on the Lakers. Pretty much.
Caruso might just want to stick to ownership projections for that other site. He might want to just stay in as Andre, talk to me about your namesake, man. Kuzma ruled out. Maybe that helps Andre Drummond. He totally let us down that first appearance in a Lakers uniform, but this might be one of those after effects, man, where he comes in now and crushes for us. What do you think about the Lakers situation now?
Yeah, that's the only person, honestly, I would have interest in the Lakers, especially on FanDuel at 5,200. He's still too cheap, and he could easily get 6-7x in this matchup. I expect him to get a double-double easily, and all the usage to go to him more so, especially with Taylor Horton-Tucker out and Kuzma out now too. Markieff Morris is going to enter the rotation more and take more shots. We know that, but he's hit or miss. I personally don't like the Lakers as a whole today. Only person you can also maybe take a shot at, I think, maybe in tournaments if you want to, as a flyer, is Dennis Schroeder. I know his price is a little bit up there. He's 7-2 on FanDuel and 7K on DraftKings, but he's someone that's going to have to shoot the ball more, especially if they want to stay in it. But Miami's going to play a good defense. They've been playing a lot better recently, so I honestly don't see much besides Dennis Schroeder and Drummond as targeting players tonight from the Heat. From against Miami.
Yeah, Miami's still chasing some playoff seeding there, so they're playing for something, and the Lakers are in big trouble here with all these guys out. So I don't know how competitive, and that's been the theme of the NBA here for about a month and a half now. Is blowout. It's not even the injuries, not even the late scratches, which are bad enough. It's the blowouts, man. That's what gets you is the 30-point game. So gotta be careful there. Milwaukee going to be without their big dog Giannis tonight. Dre, what is anybody jumping off for you in Giannis's absence?
Yeah, and I love, honestly, it's probably this is one of my favorite games I'm looking at so far tonight. Just because Dallas doesn't play a lot of defense. Chris Middleton hasn't performed the same way as he normally does, but I still love him today. He's got a lot of usage. Bobby Portis is an excellent play. But my favorite play, I don't care what his price is, honestly, it's come up, but it's well deserved. And he got the bag for it too because he's been playing out of this world, which is Drew Holiday. He's one of my favorite plays today. I'm not sure if I'm gonna lock him in, but I'm gonna have a lot of them and probably at least double the field on him because I love the matchup and he's just been balling out the most recently. So those are guys I really like to target. And I love taking shots on Dante DiVincenzo. He's someone that rebounds the ball really well. And he's going to push the pace up a little bit, especially with Giannis being out. So that's like 11 to 12 rebounds off the bat right there. And Chris Middleton, he rebounds the ball not at a high rate, like Giannis does, and Bobby Portis does. But we'll see how many minutes he gets tonight. Hopefully it's around 27, like we haven't projected, or a little bit more. But yeah, those are like the four main guys from Milwaukee I would target today. You can even get a little Pat Connaughton in tournaments. I still have another ball handler to come off the bench. But those like the main guys I will focus on. Maybe even I meant to talk about this guy too. Brook Lopez. Dallas does not have any bigs down low that can stop him, I think. But that is if he's able to stay on the court. I think he will though, because Porzingis is going to probably play I think he's going to play the four as long as Kleber's in, but he hasn't been playing a lot lately. So I would pay attention to the news and see what the lineup looked like, because if Porzingis at the four, I think it's a good spot for Brook Lopez down low to easily get hopefully a double, if not at least a easy sneaky 20-point game.
Yeah, Dallas, man. Dallas is they're struggling this year. They're disappointment this year for sure. I don't know how you go and lose to Houston last night, but that is who they are this year. They've not taken that step forward like we thought. So I like that call on a really fun game right there. Chief, OKC is going to be without Shea Gilgeous, Baisley, Dort, Roby again. All these guys out again. Horford's been out. He's actually not even with the team or anything. Talk to me about OKC. I know we got some other value that just opened up, but anything from OKC you like?
Yeah, and by the way, I know I didn't clarify this, but I'm trying to primarily cover DK today because I know Dre's going to be doing the FanDuel stuff. I'm out on OKC, man. Civi's 5,600. Don't really think that's valuable on this slate. Poku is at 5,800. Now he's a guy that's got some upside, but I don't consider that valuable on DK. Moses Brown is 6,600. I think that's fine. It's just I think we thought he was going to have a little bit more upside, and I do think at that price at 6,600, I'm out just because of the minutes. Now they have been getting blown out, so I understand that. But at 6,600 on DK, I don't think I need Moses Brown. So primarily, man, just in terms of OKC, I don't really want to play anyone. Kenrich is probably about as close to, someone that I want to play at 5,200. I think he would kind of still stay in my pool. Obviously, on FanDuel, we got a totally different discussion because these guys are a lot cheaper. But on DK, I'm hitting the X button, man. This is one team I can just start compressing my player pool with immediately.
Fair enough, man. We're going to talk about Utah now. We had at first they said Mike Conley might be out for rest, and then they said Jordan Clarkson was doubtful. And they brought Mike Conley back in the mix, and we gave him a projection. So now, as of now, it looks like Conley's going to play and Clarkson's going to be out. Dre, like we saw Conley go off, man, a few games ago, but it was Donovan Mitchell who was out. So does the same thing carry forward with Jordan Clarkson being out? Can we go to Conley, or are you just all hands off on this one?
It's tricky because Portland's a good matchup, so you want to target guys from this, but I don't think Conley's a spot. Like his price is 7.2 on FanDuel and 7K on DraftKings. It's a little bit too high for me. I personally, I think this game can be competitive, even though Utah has been blowing teams out. But they might be a little bit tired playing. I think they played overtime yesterday against Phoenix and it's a back-to-back. So that could play a factor into maybe keeping the game a little bit closer. So to me, the perfect spot to go to in this game would be Donovan Mitchell. Like he's 7.8 on FanDuel and 8.6 on DraftKings, so he's in that perfect mid-range price on there, and I just see him as probably one of the top players on the slate, especially against a Portland team who doesn't play that much defense lately. Gobert too also speaks to me and plays well, even though Nurkic is available to play today, which we just got that news I just seen come across. Gobert still is right now the leading defensive player of the year, and this game is going to be a little bit up tempo because I think it's the second have a back to back, so I expect them to not be as aggressive defensively. So it should be an easy spot for Gobert to get a double double. And it makes it easy for that to happen. I also kind of I normally don't like this guy at all, but Royce O'Neal, he's on me probably is only like a play on like 4K on both sides, but I think mainly on FanDuel just for the blocks and steals. I feel like he has a high upside for that in this matchup, being that Portland does turn the ball over a lot. And I can see that happening and him having a possible upside game in this spot.
I see Chief in the chat putting the ban on people.
Hey,
Chief,
we're banning today, man.
You trigger happy, Chief.
Listen, I don't have time for that, man. We're here to do a show. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind if we get into some little banter, but listen, man, don't come to the show if you got the model. If you got the model, you print money. Turn your computer off and go do your thing. You know what I mean? We're trying to help people here.
Maybe our guy Brian didn't realize the NBA is 30 minutes later tonight. So we're it's not that we're late. We're on time for the slate. It's 30 minutes later. But let's talk about. I want both of you guys to touch on this one before SBK gets in here. Toronto going to be probably without Kyle Lowry. I think he's doubtful. But Bembry got ruled out, and Van Vliet got suspended that one game. I think he was injured anyway, but he got suspended a game for those shenanigans in LA the other night. So. Start off with Chief on this one, but both of you guys are going to touch on it. Toronto, this opens up some avenues for us now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And in fact, the ownership actually isn't as high as I thought it was going to be. I'm looking at the DK ownership right now. We got Malachi at 22%, Pascal at 21%, Boucher at 12%. That actually caught me by surprise. Like on DK, I expected Boucher to be pushing 25, 30%, and probably the same for Pascal, and we're just not getting that. I'm actually shocked that Malachi Flynn at 4,700 is coming in projected at 22.5. I gotta think that number goes up a little bit more. If not, I mean, I think Malachi Flynn is probably a lock button on DK. I'm not exaggerating. Like it's pretty much you just start there, hit the lock button, optimize or set your percentages or however you want to do it. But Flynn is the play in my opinion on DK. I think the guy definitely gets to 30 to 30 plus fantasy points. And the reason why he got 8 bodies, even if they're down by 20, he's still going to be playing in the fourth quarter. It's just not going to matter. And so I think the production is just going to continue to tick up as the game goes along. Now, obviously with Pascal at 8,500, your hope is that the game stays close. I don't need the game close for Malachi Flynn. I do need the game close, I think, for Pascal. And then Chris Boucher at 57, I think he can still get there, even if it's a slight blowout.
All right, we're going to pick up on that in just a minute. Let's get SBK in here because I know his time is very, very valuable. Steven, thank you for joining the show, man. How's it going?
It's going good. Hold on a second. Where is Dean? Is he on vacation or something?
Yeah, Dean called out this week for some reason. Dean not been on this show. I haven't seen him on the show. Oh, you know what it is? Man, I'm glad we brought this. I got a show with Dean tomorrow, and I'm going to bring it up to him, but there's a rumor going around that the guy's got him a new girlfriend. So, you know how when you get a new lady in your life, you call out for a lot of, you're like, oh, boss, I can't come into work. Or, you're faking them. So that might be the deal. But you should know better. You live right next door to him, right?
Hey, just call him on that house phone. He'll pick up.
Yeah, call him on his landline, see what he's up to. But, yeah, not even missing him. I haven't heard his voice in a couple of days. It's kind of it's weird. I feel like I talk to Dean like 5 times a week regularly. So it's I need some Dean back in my life. Not that I mind having some extra chop. Quite a pleasure. But yeah, just was a little bit concerned about Dino.
No, Dean's fine, man. Dean will be back with us tomorrow, and I'll let him take over the hosting tomorrow. But we got some injuries tonight. We got some good things happening here in the NBA that we can take advantage of. I want you to talk to me about some of these spots. I guess crank it up with a couple of big ones. Toronto, you got some guys out. How does that going to play out in Toronto? What's the number say?
So looks like they're going to have 8 bodies. We did get word that Malachi Flynn will start. Obviously, DeAndre Bembry is out tonight, joining Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet on the inactive list. So we're going to see a ton of Pascal Siakam yet again. We should see a lot of OG Anunoby, assuming he can avoid getting tossed after 10 minutes like he did in the last game. And Gary Trent, another guy probably playing upwards of 34, 35 minutes. So, yeah, I think the starters here, which are Siakam, Anunoby, Trent, Boucher, and Flynn, are all very much in play. They're all kind of appealing. I think Trent's price tag on DraftKings is kind of a little bit prohibitive, I guess. 6.3K for him is kind of high, but everybody else I'm kind of on board with. I don't like the idea of Stanley Johnson. And I actually do think we have Aaron Baines projected at 22 minutes right now. I would bet the over on that. I think so. When they had played Orlando, there was a stretch earlier in the season. It's probably a while back now, but Baines had kind of seen a bit more time to match up with Vucevic, and obviously now Vucevic's on the Chicago side. So I'm curious if Toronto kind of utilizes more of him to match up with their size and, potentially give Vucevic some issues. But even with increased time, he'd really need to do a lot to step on the DFS radar. But I think if you're really trying to be cute on that Toronto side, he might be worth a look. But yeah, the starting lineup, I think all these guys are in play. I do think Boucher carries some risk just given the matchup. I think people are going to see the 33 minutes from the other night and be excited to play him. But I do think there's some risk involved there just given the spot against Vucevic. I could see them using more Baines.
Talk to me about Utah. We got Jordan Clarkson out. Looks like Conley's going to play. Is this a case? Is it just like simply a thing where, okay, backup guard is out, so the next man up behind him is now going to take his minutes, or should we see Conley and Mitchell get a bigger boost here?
It's a tough situation. They played an overtime game. I believe it was last night against Phoenix. So, without Clarkson, they're even a little bit more shorthanded. As this one stays close and it's competitive, I don't imagine that Utah's going to limit their guys later in the game just because they played an overtime game on a back-to-back. But I do think there's some kind of risk involved there. I wouldn't immediately assume that Conley and Mitchell are going to get an uptick in minutes. We could see Oni or Matt Thomas, one of those guys, kind of enter a rotation and play a little bit more. Obviously, neither of them are anywhere near the DFS radar. But, yeah, Mitchell, I think, is still kind of the guy on the Utah side that I feel comfortable with in any format, really. But beyond that, maybe Joe Ingles in tournaments with Clarkson out. He takes on a little bit more of responsibility off the bench. But, yeah, they're a tricky one tonight. I'm actually kind of keeping an eye on them and just making sure there's no kind of rest things going on. I would be surprised if that was the case, but just given the situation last night, kind of still keeping an eye on it.
We got a question in chat for you from Michael. Michael D. He wants to know Hardenstein's ceiling is almost 50. Is that a comfortable projection?
He ended up putting up 40 fantasy points in 27 minutes the other night, put up 35 in 26 minutes a few games before that in a matchup with Utah. So, yeah, when I was doing initial projections last night, he was the one guy that I just kept looking at, just being like, there's really no way he's not going to pop. Him and Dean Wade, both those guys, I think Wade's been kind of a very poor per minute producer recently, but he has shown some flashes of upside. He's been playing monster minutes. If Hardenstein can get 22, 24, 26 minutes anywhere in that kind of range where he's priced, I think he has a very good shot at hitting value. If he plays a little bit more, this game, I don't expect it turns into a blowout one way or the other. But if he's able to kind of get upwards of 26 minutes, I think the ceiling is immensely high, especially where he's priced at now.
Guys, and we start off with Will. Will, you got anything for SBK? Yeah, Will, you gotta
get that mute off. Gotta get that mute off.
You put the band hammer on somebody, and you mute yourself, man.
Look, I got too excited. SBK, our boy Josh Jackson is facing Sacramento tonight. What do we do with our boy Josh Jackson?
I thought for a second you weren't going to bring him up, and I was like, wait a second.
No. You know I'm already on this.
Yeah, when I saw last night, when I got that notification, Jeremy Grant was unlikely to play. My first thought, obviously, was Josh Jackson. I'm excited to start playing the tournaments. The minutes have not been there at all recently. He had one game, April 1st against Washington, where he played upwards of 28 minutes. He did score 43 fantasy points in that game, but since then, and even kind of in the past before that, hadn't really gotten there. But this is kind of a situation where the minutes definitely could be there with no Grant. I'm absolutely taking plunge in tournaments, especially we don't have him projected for a ton of minutes right now, only 25, but shade over fantasy point per minute, pretty much right at that mark. Killian Hayes does kind of throw a little bit of a wrench into that, but I'm still pretty confident that Jackson will play at least 25 minutes, I think. And given the per minute upside, I'm definitely on board.
Dre, you got anything for SBK?
Yeah, even though you said with Toronto, like I was in the projections earlier with OG, like you don't think his projections like should be popping a little bit more? Like I think against, especially against Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, he's tough. I mean, he's obviously very reliant on, he shoots a lot of 3-pointers. So, I mean, he's kind of pretty, can be kind of volatile. I mean, his level of production recently has been very solid. He had that one game against Washington where he played 38 minutes, had about 26 fantasy points. But prior to that had been like kind of in the mid-30s or a couple games in the 40s. In terms of a median projection, it's kind of tough to get much higher than we are right now. I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he ended up, around 40 or something like that. But in terms of a median projection, and we still haven't projected for a lot of minutes, 36 right now. So I think you could make the argument he could be a little bit higher. And you could obviously, make that tweak in lineup HP yourself if you feel confident in that. But yeah, in terms of a median projection, it's kind of hard to get too much higher on him. But he is a guy that, like I feel like every single time I do initial projections, that median projection is a little bit higher, like every time. So he's getting there.
Okay, yeah, that's all. Yeah, because I was just wondering because with the limited bodies, it just seemed like I thought he would get a little bit more usage out of it. But understandable also with Gary Trent back there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. We appreciate you coming on, SBK, and knocking out some questions. I'm not seeing any more questions from chat, so I think we're going to bid you adieu, man. And you be on call for when Dean comes back tomorrow. You be on call, man, because it's going to be an electric show, man. But we appreciate you coming by, man. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good, man. I'll be here. I'll be ready.
All right, later on, guy. All right, that was SBK with the projections team answering some questions for us. Knock out a few things there. Now, I want to get back to this. Right before he called in, we were talking about Toronto and the value that opened up for them. And one thing I wanted to bring up, because Chief was talking about Flynn, 3K on DraftKings. Chief, you called him a must start, right, on DraftKings, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, he's 4,700. I think you have to play him.
Yeah, so that's kind of the difference when you play the two sites. When you talk about FanDuel and DraftKings. DraftKings, I think you're looking, man, anybody you can look at anybody under 5K. If they have a pop in projection, yeah, you're gonna jump on it, man. That's DraftKings. FanDuel, correct me if I'm wrong, Dre. I play both sides, but I play a little bit more FanDuel.
Me too.
Just because the guy's popping for a little bit cheaper. He's not a lock on FanDuel. You're kind of looking at those raw points on FanDuel. You only got 2 spots for shooting guards, 2 for small forwards, so on and so forth. You're cutting yourself out of somebody if you take a cheaper guy. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about FanDuel, Flynn, and the rest of this Toronto players.
Yeah, definitely. That plays a factor into everything because and especially when a position like point guard is so loaded with the talent tonight. So you gotta really pick and choose your spots to pay up or pay down at, and make sure it works out and balances out where you can make up that difference somewhere else maybe, or have a higher ceiling with another player. So like Flynn on being 6K tonight, he's not a must play. He's an okay play, but what is his ceiling on FanDuel at 6K? Like we have it right now at 39.73 at 6K. I'd rather honestly go up and pay and play Darius Garland for 8K more, honestly, who has a higher ceiling and a better matchup. So you have to consider those things into consideration. Because he'll get running also on a blowout too, but it's just something you have to definitely consider and look at for sure. And as far as with the Toronto side, I like OG. I don't know, for some reason today, OG Anunoby is standing out to me. He's been a little bit more consistent, I know, lately, and relying on his threes, as SBK was saying before. But I think he's a good play, even though he's 8K today on FanDuel. It's tough. He only played like 9 minutes in the last game and got kicked out. But against Chicago, he's going to be matched up mainly against, I think, Patrick Williams, who I also like on that side of the ball too. of the game as well. But to me, I think he's a good play, even though he's AK. So don't be afraid to play him and get different in tournaments, even though we have his RG value a little bit low and his match percentage is a little bit low. But also Pascal Siakam, as Chief was saying before, he's a great play. He's probably going to, he obviously with 30% on, he's going to get a lot of usage. And don't be afraid to take some shots on Gary Trent as well as OG. 2% ownership with everyone out. Gary Trent just loves to shoot. He loves to chuck up and put the ball up and try to score as many points as he possibly can. I would not be surprised at the end of the night if Gary Trent is the highest scoring Toronto fantasy player on the slate because of the matchup that they're playing against for Chicago, and probably all the attention is going to be on Siakam and the amount of bodies that they have. So that's my take on Toronto. Chris Boucher, I definitely agree with SBK. The Vucevic matchup makes me a little wary of him. I think he's a great GPP play, but it's just going to be hard, especially going against Vuce tonight. And I can see him, like he said, more Baines being out there more than what we haven't projected at.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so on nights like tonight and most nights in the NBA, I think you start your roster off with by seeing, is there any obvious like value guys, man? You know, I can get to my studs later. Most nights you're looking, is there anybody that jumped out because of injuries or whatever? So value guys, and luckily Chief's going to cover us on DraftKings. Dre's going to cover us on FanDuel, and maybe I could take a stab on Yahoo. Let's start off with Chief. Value guys, man. Who are we starting our lineup with? Who are the value guys that jump out to you tonight?
Yeah, so on DK, I mean, you're for sure, in my opinion, starting with Malachi Flynn. I just don't see how, he doesn't make your lineups, because I think he's probably going to be a necessary evil on this slate. And then I think on the backside of this slate, and this is something we haven't talked about yet, this Mason Plumlee news is huge. Like, if he's out, then, I mean, Isaiah Stewart is going to be another lock button, probably on close to both sides. Like, I think he's 3,700 on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. I think that's where he's at. But he's 4,100 on DK, only center eligible. So you probably have him in utility. And then I think that's going to open it up for the rest of this lineup. You got Sadiq Bey at 43, Josh Jackson at 47, Saban Lee at 36. Like, if Plumlee is out, I think on DK, Detroit is the team. Facing Sacramento, pretty much everybody on the team is going to be pretty much under 5K except Hamidou Diallo. This is the spot that you want to play them in. Up-tempo matchup against the Kings. They're carrying all the value if Mason Plumlee is out, but you're going to have to construct your lineups as such and wait for that news because you don't have it yet. I'd be willing to bet Mason Plumlee is out today, considering Jeremy Grant is out, the direction this team is heading, just trying to get through the rest of the season. So this Detroit value, I would just go ahead and bump it up now. Like, just bump up Josh Jackson, bump up Isaiah Stewart. And if Plumlee's in, hey, he's just in. I'm still willing to play these guys. And then, of course, you can't forget about the Bucks. Bobby Portis at 5,300. I just think he's a big-time play with Giannis being out. And he's probably going to get 28 to 30 minutes no matter what.
Dre, you got FanDuel covered. Who's jumping out as value over there?
Yeah, definitely. Svi Mikhailuk is definitely jumping out in that match against Cleveland. 3,800. They still haven't moved his price. I understand he didn't have that terrific of a game that last time, but he's getting the minutes still. Around 31 minutes last game, 26 the game before. Portland was 23, but he played just horrible that game. But the minutes will always are going to be there for him, especially with the Thunder having short-handed bodies as well. So he's someone I feel like is someone I look at to put him on lineup at first. Hartenstein, as y'all were talking about before, same thing. You can even run it back. I'm a person when it comes to playing likes to do game stacks and mini stacks. So that tends to be the best way I run my lineup. So that's a cheap stack right there you can get with just running Svi and Isaiah Hartenstein on the back to running back with him. So and from there right there you can spend up and get a lot of stars in your lineups. And Isaiah Stewart, I don't even think you, like Chief said, but I don't even think you need to wait for the Plumlee news, honestly. He's getting the minutes regardless because they're just trying to play him more and they've been playing Plumlee less. So I would like I'm going to. I know what I know. I'm going to probably up his minutes personally to probably around 27 minutes. Even though just to take precaution with Plumlee being out, but just so I can get more of him in my lineups because he's going to be a phenomenal play against in this matchup against Sacramento. They're going to have to play him regardless and play all the other guys because they're shorthanded too as well. And Josh Jackson. He's a great GPP play. Those are like the main guys that I would target tonight. And also, sorry, one more guy. I know he's not probably a good play for most people today. They think, but Patrick Williams for his talent and his upside at 4.5K is still too cheap against Toronto, who has not been playing defense as well as they have been in the past, and they're shorthanded too as well. I like targeting teams who are shorthanded bodies and who are going to be tired and against and play and are not good defensively as well. So that's another player I love to play and with target tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at Yahoo on the third site is some similar players here. You're looking for guys mispriced. You see a guy who's expensive on DraftKings, he's cheap on Yahoo. There's something there. Sevi McCulloch. I don't know. I'm not good with it. $11, man. He's still $11
man.
over there. You can jump on that one. Like Chief said, he didn't like him at the bigger price tag on DraftKings. Well, you can get him cheap over here. Isaiah Hardenstein, only $13. I think like Dre just said, that's a good little stack to start off your team right there. Hardenstein versus Sevi, run them back there. That's $13. I think that's a pretty nice upside play right there. Josh Jackson, man, Detroit at Sacramento. Josh Jackson gonna get some extra run tonight. He's only $14, so you got that going for you. And all value doesn't necessarily have to be like cheap guys. It could be a guy who's just not priced appropriately for the tag, even though tag's a little bit more expensive. Chris Middleton is valuable tonight. He's only $34 on Yahoo, but well, he should be the guy for Milwaukee tonight. He should get the lion's share of the shots and plenty of minutes and all that other good stuff. So now that we got some value out of the way and we've got plenty of salary left over when we plug some of these guys in, let's talk about the high dollar guys. Like you're going to spend up, you know, NBA, this is not baseball where you leave a bunch of money on the table and feel pretty comfortable with it. In the NBA, you still want to use up a lot of your salary cap, and that usually comes with the higher price guys who are projected really well. So let's start off. I'm going to start off with Dre on this one. High price guys that you want to fill in after your value guys.
I tend to I want first of all my high value guys to tend to be more in competitive games. So Luka Doncic is like first on my list. 10-3, and has not what I guess his fantasy points has been in the 40s lately, mid 40s. The last time he had a great game was against Portland when he had 61, and then Clippers he had 73 before that. But since then it's been 46, 27, missed 2 games, 42, 45, 44, 46, 49, 42. At some point he's going to break that streak, and this could be the game because it's going to be a competitive game. Unless Milwaukee just plays exceptional defense and blows them out, this is going to be down to the wire. I love that his price at 10-3. He could fit him in, and you could fit probably a couple more other studs in this game too. De'Aaron Fox, 9.3K is my second favorite person on the slate as far as the payout for. Again, that match against Detroit is going to be fast paced. Probably going. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the highest scoring game total on the slate tonight. And they don't play much defense, and it's going to just be like I said, a track meet. So De'Aaron Fox is probably the second guy I would like to target. And I think they also do have the highest. No, they don't. They have the second highest total. Yeah, the second highest total on the slate as far as team overall compared to Utah. So those are the top. Those are the two. And I know he's, yeah. Well, and Drew Holiday. So mixing those three in, those are the 3 top studs I would play. And obviously you see they're all at point guard. So that goes back to how we were mentioning before when it comes to Mykhailo Flynn being not a good play on FanDuel because of the price and the value that you have to give up and the upside with the other point guards at the top who are in phenomenal spots in good game environments. So yeah, those are the top 3 players I would target and build your lines around first. And like I said, potentially with other news, some type of strategy you can go with is play like I'm going to probably play two teams power forwards and a third and probably speed as shooting guards, and then maybe you get three studs in there, and then go from there.
Chief, studs, you're going to build around with those value plays. Who you like?
Yeah, man. I think mainly on DK, man. Drew and Middleton. Drew at 81, Middleton at 78. It's going to be real chalky, but chalk doesn't necessarily mean fade. And I think on DK, you're going to need those guys to get where you want to go. I do think on the backside with Pascal being around 21%, if you look at that compared to Drew and Chris Middleton at 41, that's a pretty good differential. So I do like that. And then in terms of the other studs on the slate, like this Phoenix Clippers game should be pretty competitive. And we've got Kawhi Leonard at 12%. I mean, that's incredible. He's 9,400. We got him at 12%. This should essentially be one of the most competitive games on the night. So Kawhi has kind of vaulted himself to the top of my list for kind of, high floor, possible ceiling value here. I just think I think this is a great spot for them in the Western Conference. Two top tier teams battling it out. I for one am starting to follow the standings daily. The Clippers are 34-18. Suns are 36-14. Clippers are 3 games back. If they can win this game, they'll be in that 2 games back category, trying to close the gap a little bit. So I think this is an important game for both teams.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because, yeah, man, these teams who are fighting for the position are definitely still playing for something. That there's no joke about that. And I don't know if we're at that point to go a step further, which is you look at a team like the Lakers lurking out there in like 5th seed right now. Well, I can promise you none of those top 4 teams want to deal with the Lakers in the first round. So who knows what happens later on if the Lakers, how that shakes out. And people may be tanking games later just to avoid the Lakers. You just don't know. So we'll see how that all plays out. But the seedings, they make a difference. And that's why if I'm looking at a stud tonight, one guy that jumps off, and I don't know how they're going to play this, but man, they are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They are they're fighting for that home court. They feel like, if they get these playoff games in Utah, they can do some damage. Utah at Portland, great matchup. Jordan Clarkson might be out. I still think they push to win this game. There's no reason why they should be just punting this game away like some teams do. Donovan Mitchell, man, could get a lot of work tonight. He could be the man. So I like Mitchell. All spin-ups don't have to be, max salary. The spin-ups could just be your highest projected guy. Mitchell could be one of those guys. Siakam's going to get some run here against Chicago. Speaking of Chicago, I don't know the status of Levine right now, but I still think Vucevic is still a solid play. It's going to be a pretty good game out there. Chicago's still fighting for something, so I think they push it. And then Chief mentioned the 2 Milwaukee guys. I like them. Middleton, Drew Holiday are going to be good players. So, yeah, that's how we're all right there. All right, I got some questions here, guys. We got about 7 minutes left in the show. Let's answer some questions for the people and see how much time we got left over. So I've kept track of some of these questions. Let's fire them off. Let's go. I'll start off with this one with Chief because this is this guy right here. Malachi Flynn or Teo Maledon in a GPP? Flynn, but not even a question mark, right?
No question.
All right, Dre, FanDuel GPP. Can you play Fox and Lillard together? That was a question from earlier, but I think I know your answer here.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yep. All right, let's go. Will, favorite center on DK for GPP, not Pascal Siakam?
Honestly, I'm going with the guy that everybody hates today. I'm going with Chris Boucher at 57. I think he pops off even in this spot. I'm telling you, they got 8 bodies. 8.
I mean, listen, you say everybody hates him. Not everybody hates Boucher. That guy's got some upside, man. I love me some Boucher. If he ever gets the run, he's in there. I don't know if he's a good real-life player or just a really great fantasy player, but I always wonder why people don't take a stab on, like, bringing him into your organization, man, and like, giving him a shot at like Christian Wood. Like Christian Wood, man. You can kind of see it as, like, the guy got some skill to him. Give him a shot. Now he's getting a shot and you see what he does. All right. Let's go back to Chief here because specifically this man asked for Chief. You like Josh Jackson or Hamidou Diallo?
Oh, that's a tough one. Give me my boy Josh Jack though. Give me Josh Jack for the price difference and the possible upside with a little bit of the minutes increase tonight.
Dre, your thoughts on Luca? Is he a lock or no for GPP? He's been averaging.
Mm,
He's a little bit. He's a little bit
yeah,
off.
I don't think he's a lock on GPPs. I think he's a good play today, especially against Milwaukee, but not a lock, definitely.
All right, Chief. Do you have any interest in Saban Lee from Detroit tonight?
Oh yeah, on DK, I think Saban's around 3,600. I've talked about this Detroit value, man, for sure. 3,600. I like him on DK.
All right, Dre. Daniel wants to know Colin Sexton or Zach LaVine on a GPP on FanDuel.
See, that's really tough. I'm gonna go Colin Sexton. And I even though I know Zach LaVine probably has he just hasn't been playing. He's been playing not to his ceiling lately, and I think Colin Sexton has been, and also he's in a little bit of a better matchup. Where that game can still, they both games can still be close and competitive, but I think that they're playing at a slower pace in Chicago, so Sexton is probably the better play with the faster pace.
Chief, Craig L wants to know on DK in a GPP, would you rather have Hardenstein or Isaiah Stewart?
I think Hartenstein still has more upside. Give me Hartenstein.
Hardenstein. All right, let's go. Let's go back to Dre on this best game stack on FanDuel for you in a GPP.
Yeah, I'm deciding between two games right now. I like that. I'm gonna say Detroit, Sacramento game, and the Cleveland OKC game. Those are like my two games I'm looking at as far as a game stack. And then having some like little one-offs in other teams.
Will, we got a question for you. Can Kevin Love grab 10 rebounds tonight? What's Kevin Love been doing? Do we expect him? Do we expect him to grab a double tonight?
Oh God, Kevin Love, man. First of all, if you didn't check out our rant on the morning grind, you need to get on that. We got a free Kevin Love. It's possible. I think he would need to get 26 to 28 minutes. It's possible. I'm going to have to side with no, though.
Fair enough. Got a FanDuel question for Dre. Favorite center on FanDuel in a GPP under 7K? Under 7K.
Under 7K.
You got a lot of choices, Dre.
Yeah, you got a lot of choices. My favorite, is between two of them right now. And like I said, from both of those games I was talking about before, I really kind of like Moses Brown. I don't think his ownership is going to be that high because of how he's been playing lately. So Moses Brown is my answer.
Fair enough. I got one for us here. Oh boy, is KCP an interesting play with Kuzma out, or is it just fool's gold? Like, I'm not a KCP guy, so one of you guys, you let me know if you're a KCP guy. Dre, Will, you a KCP guy?
Nah, especially not in this late. There's no need for it. You're playing Miami, just to stay away. Pick someone else.
Will, you don't like no KCP, do you?
Negative.
All right, Will, I got one. DK, GPP, Leonard, Kawhi, Luka, or Middleton?
Listen, if you're in GPP and you're going for ownership, it's got to be Kawhi. It's got to be. Like, there's no way he has the ownership of Luka. And Middleton, I think, is pushing 40%. I do like the price savings on Middleton, but if we're talking GPP, one shot, give me Kawhi.
All right, we're almost out of here, guys. That's all the questions I'm seeing out there. So just to end this thing out, let's do one quick thing before we end it out. Will, on DraftKings, who's the first guy you're locking into your lineups tonight?
Malachi Flynn, man.
Malachi Flynn. That's his boy.
4,700.
Andre, FanDuel, first guy you're locking in.
Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. That's a good one, man. That's very interesting. All right, guys. If I'm playing Yahoo tonight, I'm going Donovan Mitchell. I just think there's a 50-point game there, and he's cheap enough, and there's plenty of value. So that's where I'm going. You got 3 different views from 3 different sites, guys. We appreciate you tuning in, guys. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with Dean. We'll do some more NBA for you. MLB is back tomorrow night, so we got all kinds of good things working. Good luck in those GPP, guys. For Will, for Andre, I'm Chop. We're out of here.